Hey everybody, this is missdivinestalls, and this summer I had the honor of speaking at Hempfest 20th anniversary here in Seattle, Washington. I've been volunteering for Hempfest for the last 7 years, and this was my first year as a core staff member of Hempfest, which was a huge honor, and my first year speaking for them. I was asked by Sensible Washington to come out and speak during Hempfest about the campaign and about an issue that's important to me. And in order to explain to you what Sensible Washington and Hempfest are, I have to admit something about myself. I am 100% for the legalization of hemp and marijuana. Hempfest is a pro-festival. Sensible Washington is a nonprofit organization for which I currently serve as Capitol Hill organizer to legalize marijuana for persons over the age of 18 here in Washington state and make it a taxable resource for our economy. I decided, instead of talking about getting involved in the campaign and being a part of it, making the usual speech that so many other members of Sensible Washington were going to do, that I would try to do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about my passion for the legalization of hemp and how it can be used as a clean source of fuel to get us off of our dependency on foreign oil. So this is a little bit of what I spoke about during Hempfest weekend of 2011. I'm going to tell you all today about biodiesel, and I promise you this has to do with pot. Rudolf Hermann Diesel, at the age of 14, announced to his parents that he was going to be an engineer, one of the greatest engineers in the world. He continues through school and excels, winning scholarship after scholarship, and upon graduation has an internship in a steam engine and refrigeration factory. During his time there, he is appalled at the inefficiency of the steam engine and begins work on his own engine, which he patents as the diesel engine. He debuts his diesel engine at the World's Fair in Paris of 1900. His competition for the grand prize is the escalator and the first moving pictures with sound. Now, at this fair, for which, incidentally, the Eiffel Tower was built, Rudolf Diesel explained to the crowd that he could run his engine on peanut oil rather than gasoline. His theory behind this was that if you take the source of fuel and make it from a renewable source rather than from gasoline, you can take the power out of the fuel companies and put it back into the hands of common working class people. He wins the prize and becomes a millionaire many times over by the age of 40. He then travels to London to oversee the opening of a new diesel engine factory. While crossing the English Channel, he dines with the ship's captain, retires to his cabin at 10 p.m. that night, but the next morning, his body is not found anywhere aboard the ship. His body, however, was found days later by fishermen floating lifelessly in the water. A few days after the death of Rudolf Diesel, Standard Oil releases a dirty byproduct of gasoline known as diesel fuel. Now, take that information in mind and jump across the pond to Detroit, Michigan, the home of the once great automobile industry, where Henry Ford, the visionary father of the automobile industry, began work on the Model T. Now, the Model T, when it was initially developed, was made to run on ethanol alcohol. Henry Ford, much like Rudolf Diesel, believed that if you take the power to create fuel from a renewable resource, you can take that power out of the hands of the oil companies and put it back into common working class people's hands. Henry Ford captured 20% of the fuel market, and red flags went up at Standard Oil. Carl Rockefeller, the founder of Standard Oil, and often known as the iconic epitome of the American dream, starting from nothing and working your way to become something, whatever that something might be, funded an amendment that would become known as Prohibition. For 12 of the 13 years of Prohibition, Henry Ford continued to build his Model T to run on ethanol alcohol, and then he quit. He gave up and began running his Model T on gasoline. 1 year later, Prohibition was lifted. Now, what do we know about Prohibition? That it doesn't work. What you might be saying to yourself, what does this have to do with hemp? What does this have to do with marijuana? I'll tell you, since I asked for you. The diesel engine is here to stay. The boats in the harbor, the trucks that carry our goods from one end of the country to the other, the planes in the sky, they have to run on diesel engines. They need too much power to run on electricity, so the diesel engine is here for good. Every single one of those engines can be run on biodiesel today with no modifications to that engine. And you can make biodiesel out of biomass. You can make it out of used cooking oil. You can make it out of algae oil if you want to. Guess what other kind of oil you can make biodiesel out of? Hemp oil. And while you're growing hemp to make biodiesel, you can be growing food, you can be growing medicine, you can be growing paper, you can be growing clothing and textiles, you can be growing the solution to our dependence on foreign oil. And that biodiesel that you make can be run in your engine today with no modifications. That's no modifications to your car. You want to give a big middle finger to society? Start running your diesel engine car on biodiesel today. If you're in the Seattle area, there's a biodiesel pump out in Fremont. You want more of them? Go down to city council and put a bug up their ass and say, we want more biodiesel. In fact, we demand more biodiesel and renewable energy sources and standards for this city. You want to make sure that it happens? Run for city council yourself. Seriously, do you know how easy this is? It's like running for student council. Seriously. Do you know how many of those positions run unopposed? This could be your thing. You could start talking about hemp and the legalization of hemp and marijuana for the city and for the state and influence people, and that could be your thing. Hemp is a safe and renewable resource for this country that can get us out of these wars, get us out of this violent pattern, and end our dependency on foreign oil and the violence that comes with it. Get involved with Sensible Washington for true legalization. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for coming out. One love. Peace.